Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another podcast of C&E. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm David Caduto.
I'm Skylar Barty.
I'm Aaron Lanuza.
And I'm Chris McCrory.
And our special guest this week will be Chris. Okay, so our topic, I know we said we'd do part 2 of reality TV, but there was a vote against it. So that being said, what we're going to talk about today is E3.
Woo!
The biggest...
Sounds like a roller coaster.
Yeah, it does. It is the biggest electronics gaming convention in the world. And so...
it's the biggest media one.
So, Skylar
Basically,
is
it's
going to tell
Valhalla
us a
for
little
nerds.
bit of information about this to begin with.
Yeah, so E3 is stands for the Electronic Entertainment Expo, and it started back in like 1993. And it was just more of a place for the studios to kind of showcase the games coming out over for the next year. And since 93, it's only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it's a global phenomenon. Like, E3 starts off the gaming convention year. There's stuff earlier in the year with PAX East and stuff like that, and GDC. But E3 starts the big ones. PAX Prime, Gamescom in Germany, Tokyo Game Show in September. A whole bunch of video game conventions happen, and it all starts with E3. And it's a place where developers come. They put up giant booths. If you have epilepsy, don't go to E3. I learned that the hard way sometimes. There are certain booths that will it's just flashing lights, loud sounds. Take some Advil, you'll have a headache. But it's a lot of fun. It's usually just for industry insiders and press and other people who work with video games. Every now and again, there's some public tickets, but for the most part, it's only people who are inside the industry. For the rest of the public, though, everyone gets to see all the demos and trailers at the conferences that happen in the early part of the week, and then during the show floor throughout like IGN, GameSpot, and other media outlets. And we get to see those gameplays from here, and then get to play them at like PAX Prime later in the year.
So speaking of which, what are some of the games we're actually expecting to be at E3?
Oh man, there's been a whole lot. So Aaron has like up a whole list of them right now. Some of the bigger ones: Civilization 6, Titanfall 2 is a big one that's been highly been waited for.
I'd like to say on the record, that is a big-ass sword.
Yeah, the poster for Titanfall 2, that is a giant sword.
It was like the only thing that was featured. There was like a 6-second teaser for Titanfall 2, and that was what it was. It was just a man picking up the sword.
Yeah, no, so Titanfall 2 is going to be coming out to both consoles, PS3 and Xbox One, or PS4, sorry, and PC. So it's coming out to everything now, except for the Wii U. Sorry, buddy.
You'll be in your grave soon.
Yeah, the NX will be coming out. Though, that's actually something, we're not getting the NX. So Nintendo is not going to be showing their new console or whatever, their new gaming thing at E3 this year, and that's huge.
Literally the only thing they actually have at E3 is Zelda. Even their Nintendo Treehouse, which is what they usually do, and it's their form of a presentation where they showcase, here's Nintendo all the Direct, new it's all the new stuff they're going to do, all of their cool new things. Yeah, they're not having that. They're just doing gameplay of the new Zelda, which is actually getting pushed out until, I believe it was at the same time as the NX, so that it releases on both at the same time.
Yeah, so it's coming out next year. I don't think...
Long awaited, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's still only that one piece of promotional media, which is that trailer where you don't see its link until the final shot.
Final shot given out?
Last year's E3. Yeah. Last year's E3. We've had, inklings of, a Wii U Zelda, but this is the first console generation for Nintendo that they haven't had a Zelda game on the console, And so it'll be weird if it doesn't come out with both, Either way, though, there's a lot of big names. Going to Watch Dogs 2. Mass Effect Andromeda is a game that I'm hugely excited for. There's a bunch of other... we're going to see some expansion stuff. We might see stuff from Blizzard. We're probably going to get a new game from Ubisoft. Ubisoft loves to just drop cool trailers at the end of their conference. The other big one, The Last Guardian. We're going to be getting more stuff. Yeah, right there. Last Guardian is going to be shown off. A game that has been in development since, I want to say, 2005.
It's somewhere in there, like
Yeah,
early
Last Guardian.
mid-2000s.
The graphics looks incredible on this one.
Yeah, honestly, they haven't aged well. They look very similar to Shadow of the Colossus. It doesn't look like it's very beautiful. The art style of it is just—it's an amazingly looking game. But the graphical fidelity of the game hasn't really improved in the last 5 years since we've seen it.
And that could just be
yeah, I can
because,
understand that.
like, it started development all this time ago. They've had to move up probably a console generation and a half to get to the current generation, which means you really have
It's
to
supposed to come out on
rebuild
PS2.
your engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So basically, I mean, I've been playing video games all my life, and I remember. I mean, I remember going way back in the '80s, going back and playing games, but I don't ever remember anything as big as this. The biggest thing for me is, I mean, I like sports games, I like adventure games. So let me ask you guys a question real quick. Do you think we're going to see Sony's virtual reality?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
they've been kind of showcasing
I mean, they've
it
been
here and
dropping
there.
things here and there about it. So
Well, I mean, we
it's
saw
like
it last
videos
year.
on YouTube.
We saw it last year at E3. I think we'll get a full tech demo this year. Because last year was kind of more of a like an alpha demo.
Okay.
I think we're going to be seeing an actual tech demo. And the big thing I think that will be coming out of PSVR is that we're going to get a release date. I think this year is when we get the release, because HTC Vive is already out.
Yeah, they
Rift.
cannot afford to wait at this point unless they're actually choosing to wait. They could actually postpone a release date from E3 and wait and see if the market, which from some initial things, VR's been out for a couple months now.
Yeah, Oculus Rift came out, I think, February.
March.
Yeah, and Vive came out very recently. Vive's really nice. My roommate has it.
And I think Sony might actually be, because that could be why we haven't heard a whole lot about it. It's they're waiting to kind of see how it plays out, see if people can actually get like a full-on game developed for this. And I think because right now what we have is tech demos, and I think once we start actually seeing these full-length or a longer-scale game, you're going to have more developers of Sony, the Square Enixes, and the Ubisofts, and all of them.
Or not the Microsoft,
Naughty Dog.
Sorry, Naughty Dog.
Yeah, Naughty Dog. You're going to have these experiences from them who they want to move on to their next project, and what better way to do that than a whole new subset of consoles.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask this to Aaron, because Aaron, you don't play a lot of video games.
Not much.
Does virtual reality interest you at all?
Absolutely. I saw a couple videos where there were zombies involved, but with the virtual reality, just imagine having a gun out and then shooting just a zombie, turning around and seeing that there's another one about to attack you.
I think the coolest thing for me, being a video game player, is to see the how it's gone over the years.
Yeah.
So basically, what you've done is you've had like the Nintendo, the great Nintendo Entertainment System,
The NES,
to the Sony, and you've seen the graphics get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And then, today, 35, 40 years later, you're talking about virtual reality. And for me personally, I always thought virtual reality was going to be like something like one of those dancing games, and then you put on the little glasses, and then you slide in something.
You're like sitting there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you slide something in, and it was like what you were talking about shooting, and then you'd have something, and then, you do that, or whether it was throwing a football, or whether it was shooting a gun, or whatever it was, and doing all this, and it's just amazing to me. I don't see where or how much more they can do. I really don't. Like, the
this
graphics.
Is the next step.
Well,
this is the next step.
Well, it is, but and the funny thing is, the story. I think these video game developers have gotten so in depth with stories now.
Yeah.
And they're spending millions of dollars developing. We have blockbusters coming out this summer, but these video games, they have movie writers. They're actually writing for video games to make it more dramatic and make it more, entertaining for the players, because moreover than anything else, moreover than shooting zombies or jumping over, a rock or something, they want to see a storyline.
Yeah,
and I really love jumping over rocks.
Yeah, I know. That's
I love
at
jumping
button every time.
Hay barrels,
hitting Donkey Kong back in the day. But my point is, like, the story has become so much more better, and the characters are now amazingly.
There's absolutely games where storytelling takes a backseat to.
Yeah, I would say
gameplay.
recently Doom is a very good example of this. Doom 2016.
And
No, Halo actually.
I mean, I would say it's
No, I wouldn't say Halo because I would say Doom because Doom has a very loosely put together plot. It's honestly all about the gameplay. The gameplay really makes that game, and then there's somewhat of a plot. Halo, however, has an entire spanning mythos. Whereas, sure, the gameplay is like I don't play Halo for the gameplay anymore. I play Halo for the story because it's such a really cool story.
Yeah, the difference now is that with graphics the way they are and with the actual ability of the computers and of the processors of anything to actually make this happen is that you can have these games that focus like Doom on the gameplay and that's their focus, but you can also have these brilliant cinematic cutscenes and like let's say Uncharted 4 for example. That was a huge It was beautiful.
It was
stunning.
It was a blockbuster game.
Yeah. Well, I can remember even playing or watching The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Even that game, you got so intent in watching the girl and them going through and trying to find the facility and fighting off the zombies. And the other thing too, I think that's really cool with this is. Before, not like Super Mario Brothers, where you go and you couldn't. Well, I mean, I suppose you couldn't go back. I mean, now you're able to go back 2, 3, 4 screens, and it's like, wow, and pick up little items here and there. Whereas before, it was like, okay, well, I missed it. I have to. If I die, I'll go back and get it again. But now you're able to do that, and it's so three-dimensional.
So one of the things, like going towards E3, because we like virtual reality has been around since the Oculus Rift was announced years ago. Mm-hmm. Last year, Microsoft showed off
HoloLens.
Not just HoloLens. Sorry, an AR technology, and that stuff also intrigues me because where Sony and everyone else is going towards this virtual reality thing, and Sony doesn't have an original idea in their entire body.
Let me ask you a question
can only
real quick.
like steal ideas.
Is that alternate reality?
Yes.
Okay.
Augmented reality.
Okay.
Augmented reality.
Okay.
So like where Sony
for those of anybody who doesn't know, augmented reality in its core, you remember Google Glasses years ago.
Right.
It's where you have the glasses, it's your normal glasses, except let's say you're looking at somebody, over in the left corner of your vision, you have your Facebook news feed.
Okay.
Or you have a
It's kind of like what Iron Man has.
It's essentially that.
It augments what you're seeing in reality.
Okay,
so the tech demo that they had last year was they had an entire Minecraft world.
Wow.
And you could pull apart like parts of the block and look inside.
Wow.
And see all this stuff. Yeah. And here at COC itself, actually, the Makerspace has a version of this that uses the Kinect to create a 3D model imaging of topographical maps.
Yeah. Wow.
And that uses a projector, whereas HoloLens, you actually have the actual glasses with it, and it utilizes the space and it uses Kinect to film the space. So it's kind of like a virtual reality, but uses your space as well. And so it offers a unique take on virtual reality. And I want a better tech demo this year. I want to see where that technology has progressed.
That's what I want from E3. That's really the biggest thing I care about. I really want to see some augmented reality from Microsoft, from
I want to see it from the NX as well. I want NX to be augmented reality because Nintendo has been building up AR forever. They did it on the 3DS, the Wiimote, and everything, motion control and everything is half virtual reality, half augmented reality.
What are they called? The figurines. I'm blanking on them.
The Amiibos.
The Amiibos. Yeah, that's a
version of it. Yeah.
This sounds more like an update on technologies. Augmented reality, is that something that's also outside of video games as well?
Yeah,
it would definitely
somewhat.
be.
Though that's what I was saying with the Makerspace, the topographical map. So they have it's basically a giant pit of sand, and you can move it, and it registers how high the sand is going, and creates a topographical map based on what the sand is in real time. So the second you flatten a mound, it says that's no longer a mountain, that's a plain or whatever, that's a plateau. And it shows all of that, and it's not gaming. They do it for engineering and stuff like that. So there's a lot of augmented reality, but we can also do it for gaming. And there's other gaming, the
Pokemon
first
Go. Mm-hmm. That's a great example of where
Pokemon
augmented
Go
reality would work
There's
great.
a game out right now from the people who make Niantic, who makes Pokemon Go, called Ingress. It utilizes your phone and utilizes your GPS and Google Maps, and you go around your city or whatever and close these portals. And you play the game that way. So you're traveling, you're doing stuff out in the world, you're not just sitting at home.
Right.
That's a version of augmented reality. Anything that uses real life and the virtual world hand in hand, that's AR.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
That's amazing.
Just because you were talking about how it's also connected to the Wii or the Nintendo or the what is it called, the Xbox 360 Go?
Yeah, the
The Kinect.
The Kinect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume that the technology is not too expensive to make either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
yeah.
The Kinect used to be pretty expensive, but now like they've gotten it down. Like it comes with the Xbox One. I mean, one of the things that we will see at E3 is they just announced recently that the Xbox One price dropped to $300. So we're going to see more stuff to try and get people back. They're probably going to announce stuff at their conference to like get.
One of the rumors for Microsoft is like an Xbox One Slim, which is
Yes,
gonna be in
it's
the
a
same
slimmer
vein.
machine that's got a faster processor.
Yeah.
Has a faster.
But that
yeah,
happens just in general. Like, let's say
Yeah.
that 360 that was made a year ago is not the same as the 360 that was made
When it first came out.
when
Right,
they first came out in
absolutely.
2006.
No, exactly. And at E3, it's always good to see the new technologies, but like what people care about. And like you and me, we very much like the hardware. Like I'll watch the PC Gaming Expo for that stuff, but they care about the software. You know, they come for the games. And with this year, we're priming up for a very strong year of gaming. You know, we have Final Fantasy 15 coming out as well, a game that has literally been in development since 2006. You know, like
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that digital? I mean, now that Sony has their store, their PlayStation Store, and everything else, do you think digital? I mean, look,
digital distribution.
Yeah. Do you think?
Well,
I guess-
to go to the point where you're trying to make,
Yeah.
digital distribution is going to take over.
Well,
It's-
I was just going to say that because the fact is that I know as a video game player, it's not that I don't like going out and spending $60
Right.
and getting the software to put in my PS3 or PS4 or whatever it is. The fact is that do you think we're going to see more and more digital downloads to your system because
Yes.
they've made it so
I mean,
big.
that's already just
Right, but
in PC, that is the standard. So like Steam, Origin, and Uplay and Origin not the best, but like Steam being amazing. That is the universal standard of how you buy games now
Okay.
for PC. I'm weird. I like having a physical copy at the same
no,
price.
I do as
I
well.
will second that, Skylar.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird.
Now, see, the one
I thought you were
thing-
gonna second. You like physical.
The one thing I will say though is I'm of the school of thought that when it's always funny to me is when you walk into these gaming stores and they say, you know, used copy $54.99,
Yeah.
new copy $59.99. I have no problem spending the extra $5 to buy a brand new game because if I screw it up, I want to know it's on me.
Well,
I don't know.
What's funny is that I actually I've worked
And
at
I go in
GameStop.
there and I trade in GameStop.
I cannot wait
all
until
those.
digital distribution puts GameStop out of business.
Yeah.
Because
They're
basically
doing-
screw them, and they're really like we're the only
I
one.
Yes.
will say this.
Monopolistic business practices.
I mean, that's what happened.
Yes
to
and
Netflix.
no. Like it's not because they're. It's not because of that. It's just because they were able to do. They're able to just like buy and people just like them.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I think that it's one of those things where I love. I mean, I think video games. Look, it's a $6 billion a year industry, and I think for me,
It's bigger than that.
well, last time I checked. I mean, I'm sure it is.
It's
Did you say
way
6 billion?
bigger than that.
Yeah, with the B. I mean, this is how big it's gotten, and this is why three out
It's
of
about
four
$1 billion.
games-
It's about $1 billion per AAA game, and there's about like 17 AAA games. that come
Yeah.
out a year.
So I mean, the fact is that it's one of those things that it's not going away.
So-
And
With your points of digital distribution, I think what we'll see, what we're going to see more out of E3, and what we'll see more out of these conferences, and I think what really builds them up in terms of the software, is I think we're going to see more indie games, and I think that's what digital distribution does very well. And like because you're saying the $60 price point, that's always for AAA games, but now we're in an era where I can go like one of my favorite Behemoth games. They've made games like Battle Block Theater, Alien Hominid, Castle Crashers.
Okay.
You know, very big name games.
Yeah.
$20. Each one of those games is like $20.
Like
Yeah.
Shovel Knight for
But
the
they're simpler
for the
games,
3DS.
though,
Yeah.
They had to put that at $25, but that's still that's like $15 down from the $40 that a usual 3DS
Yeah,
game goes for.
and so one of the things that like we'll see out of E3 is more announcements of how they've gotten indie games, because digital distribution does so well because you don't need to buy. You don't have to buy the disc, and so there's more incentive to make smaller end games that don't cost as much in production and offer just the same amount of entertainment value. And I want to see what this year comes. Like, I love indie games, and I love seeing everything. And E3 has like a really nice area for indie developers. And every time I've gone,
they've always been nice to the indies.
yes, not as good as PAX, but E3 has been doing a lot better at showcasing the indie developers than they have in the past. You know,
Let me ask you guys a question. What do you think is the one thing that has completely changed the, no pun intended, changed the game as far as the video game industry is concerned? For me, I would say it's motion capture.
mocap.
Yeah, because the fact is, and
Absolutely.
I know for video games and like sports games, just in general, when you see these people, you know,
We
put on
tend
these
to
suits.
use some pretty great motion capture. I'd
Yeah,
like to say.
and so you know,
Dance
you-
Dance Revolution, like I was saying.
yeah,
before.
I mean, yeah. So you see these people in these suits and all these sensors, and they're able to capture the unique motions of a player or an individual, and they have so many different animations for them. Whereas 20 years ago, you would have never seen this.
I think it's the interactivity. I mean, whenever the Xbox came out, one of the really important things that you had was like the steering wheel for racing
Yeah.
games.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
being able to connect even further than just.
Have you
the
guys?
controller.
Speaking of that, have you heard of Star Citizen?
No.
So Star Citizen is the single most crowdfunded game, and it's a game that's not out yet. And one of the things that we're hoping for is that we're going to get a playable demo of the single player that they've been promising us. I want to say they crowdfunded almost $80 million, almost up to.
It's
I think
at
it's
least.
it's
way higher.
I think it's higher than that. I think it's over
over
100 million now. But it's basically my uncle plays it,
Crowdfunding, Jesus.
has an entire setup for a cockpit, for a spaceship cockpit in his house. Like that type of interactivity is amazing. And like if you've ever been to like any conference, like at E3, whenever they have driving games, they have an entire. It's not controllers. It's just
They're
wheels.
cars,
It's
yeah.
no. It's just driving wheels. Like I go to Comic-Con and they'll have like Gran Turismo there. It's wheels.
Yeah,
You know, and
I
that's
mean-
all it is. And so like if we get the single player of Star Citizen, I want to say it's. I can't even think of the name. Squadron 77 is what I want to say it's called. You'll get a fighter cockpit. You won't get a mouse and keyboard like you would on other things. You'll get the freaking
Joystick.
Like
Not joystick, but it's.
I mean,
it's the
if this was a
controller.
joystick, it's a very
Right, no,
very
but
intense
that
joystick.
was a
you know?
person,
But that's
yeah,
gotta be so expensive then.
But see, you know,
But you don't have to play it that way.
But,
Oh, okay.
You don't like. You're never required to play it that way. But you're
it's more fun.
Gotcha.
it's more control.
Yeah.
Just like Halo, when it came out, it came with a helmet.
Yeah.
Plus, and that's why they do it at the E3 and all that stuff. When like marketers and all do that, because then they're like, "Here's how to play the game. You're really gonna like this. Buy it, buy it, buy
Yeah,
it." And that's
yeah.
all E3 is it's trying to sell you the games for the next year.
It's not even selling you the games. It's
Selling
It's getting the
industry.
people in the industry to get excited about the games, so they will tell you about the games, so
And then
you will
you
buy
will-
the game.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But on a kind of related note, where that's not really happening this year, several notable game publishers like EA, for example,
Yeah.
they have decided, we're actually pulling out of E3. We're actually going to have our own show right before E3.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think E3 or not E3, EA is one of those developers that has just taken off over the. I would say they are the perennial. They have taken off.
The most evil company in the country.
They've taken off over, I'd say, the last dozen years. And just because of Madden, just because there's sports games, and I think 3 years ago, they just went over and bought the rights to UFC. And now
Yeah.
they've got a couple UFC games out, and it's funny because all of their sporting games are amazing and out of sight, but when they try and put together a game that is storyline based or something to that extent, it's horrible.
Plants vs. Zombies.
That
was a great story.
It's just terrible because they don't have any. All they do and all they're known for is sporting games, and that's fine with me.
But it's not just them who've pulled out. Let's say last year, Bethesda. They did their entire Fallout 4 reveal, all of that stuff where Fallout Shelter, Fallout 4, these great things that everybody loves. That was a week before E3. Anybody in that cycle remembers that. Why are they doing this? This is ahead of schedule for everything. We have to get our reporters down there a week early now.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too, because you're talking about that game at that time, and then, so the big conference happens, and, it doesn't make it as...
Basically...
I won't say
by the way, the Bethesda conference was part of E3.
Was it?
Yes, it was. And by the way, EA's having an E3 conference. So... What is different is that they've changed the time in which they're having it, and they changed how they're licensing through E3. And so, they're not going to have the booth that they used to at E3 because they don't want to have the floor stuff. Instead, they're having their own thing outside of E3 that's a different booth area. So instead of having all of their games playable on the show floor, they're pulling out of the show floor, having a conference during that week. Or during that time frame. I think it might actually be this week, though. I think it is a different time frame. But they're having it off the show floor. They're having their own thing for people to come into.
But basically to beat the hype again. Right?
The idea I was going... basically the idea I was going on about with this, Arian hit it on the head. It's E3 has gotten so...
big.
I wouldn't even say big. I'd say condensed. There's so much mass to it. There's so many different big name titles. We've even seen the list.
How long does this go on? Is it one weekend?
It starts. The conferences start Tuesday.
Is it 2 weeks then?
No. So the conferences start Tuesday and then it ends Thursday.
Wow.
All right, it's Monday, Tuesday, and then ends Thursday, and then there's after parties Friday. E3 after parties, though, fun as hell.
Well, that just seems to me like
AR parties.
Yeah, there you go.
Party from home. Yeah, right.
But that just doesn't seem long enough. I mean, for all of these distributors and everything else,
it's not. For any one person, it's not enough.
Yeah.
That's why it's important that we have PAX. It's why we have Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show. There's a couple others that happen throughout the year. And it's a reason why Comic-Con even has video games at it now.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these things are important is because it allows the people who want to see the rest of it, who go to all of the conventions, chance to see everything. So maybe you only get EA or Ubisoft in E3, and then you're able to get Microsoft and Sony at Comic-Con, and then you're able to get Bethesda and Activision at Gamescom.
A lot of the same people end up going to these multiple shows then? So let's say they only want to go to E3, so they only want to go to a certain show or a certain title distributor at one show, so then they go to all these other shows to see all these other...
But the main thing is that E3, last year they had a freaking thing on the side that was timers for weights of lines.
Oh my
Sounds
god!
like
And
it's Disneyland
that must have been like a
to play the Wii U. Or sorry, no, actually, let's go back to play the Wii. And I actually was at this one. All right, to play the Wii, it took you 9 hours in line to play a 1 hour demo on the Wii.
Was there a fast pass line?
No, this wasn't Disneyland.
Well, I mean that would be completely
unless you were main industry person, then they brought it to you.
Oh.
That was it.
Wow.
Fancy.
And
I mean, that's just...
backroom stuff. But E3, there was one year where they're selling tickets for $700.
They're scalping tickets, essentially.
Yeah. It's a huge effing conference, and for good reason.
Well,
because every year it comes out, you'll see stock prices soar. You'll see
pre-order
sales
the
numbers
earnings
go
are
through
based
the roof.
on their earnings are based on these
But
things.
this is even for titles that we know are coming out.
Right, no,
Things
yeah.
that we've already seen. For some reason, even on all of this stuff, it could be all stuff we've heard about before, and it's just new stuff.
Because
you'll just see it skyrocketing, then the hype explodes, and no other conference does it better than E3.
Well,
even with all the other ones after, E3 is the one that destroys it.
Well, here's the thing. I know being a sports guy, okay, when EA comes out with a new game, and let's say their new hockey game, it's the same game, it's the same players and everything else, but they have new features.
Yeah.
And that is what you were just talking about. It takes off. And therefore, their stock prices go straight up because they're excited about these things, and they want these new things. It's the same game. It's the same players. But it's, what have we done differently this time? Yeah. And I think that as long as they're able to continue to tweak them, and even for the majority of the people, even if they don't, even if they like them, they're going to go out and buy it and spend the $60. Yeah. As far as I think,
or 40, depending on what the game price is.
Right? Yeah, depending on.
I do like that, and that is one thing that we saw. I want to say 2 E3s ago is that we started seeing is that we're starting to see different pricing points.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they get. I think these distributors and whatnot, they finally recognize that, hey, look, nobody always has $60 to go out and spend on a game. They just don't.
Not always is the game worth $60.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing.
Battlefront.
But see, I bought Battlefront, and I love that game.
Yeah,
it's not worth $60.
I I would have to. I haven't played it in 3 months. Granted, because I've been busy. But I love that game.
It's a $40 game.
A great game.
With all the content you got. It's a $40 game that they priced you at $60, and they sold you a season pass with half the content for $50.
That's the thing. I will never. And that's funny you bring that up because.
And then you'll just buy the Game Gear edition later for $60 and save money.
That's what always kills me. You can buy the same game. Let's say Madden.
Actually, you know what? Calling it now, announcing it here. Battlefront Game of the Year edition announced at E3 this year from EA. Done.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
That's it.
You can buy the same game, okay, Battlefront for like $60, and then they'll come out with like a Game of the Year edition or extras here and there with a season pass. Oh, just pay $100 and you can get all this.
But I need that gunskin DLC.
No, I won't do that. And it's just, I mean, I think gaming is definitely.
It's exploded.
No, yeah, obviously, and I think it's one of those things that it's not going away anytime soon. But in all honesty,
I don't think it will ever go away. I think we've reached that point where it's no longer ever going to.
It's the one thing I will say about video.
Too far.
You're right. I think the one thing you'll see about video games and whatnot is, especially with VR and AR, is you're going to see all these different applications for it. You're going to see it in the medical field. You're going to see it in education. You're going to see it in childcare. You're going to see it in all these different things.
It's no longer a game.
Law enforcement.
Gaming is no longer a game, Aaron.
And the fact is that, instead of, going through and getting shot, if you're a police officer, you can actually go through an obstacle course and then be able to diagnose what you did wrong and everything else. And it might save lives in the end. So I mean, all of this stuff that they're doing, it down the road. Right now, it won't pay off, but right now, 5 years down the road, I think it will. And it's just one of those things where it's
it's become a tool.
It really has. It really has. And so, when you talk about tools like that, it's just, I don't know. It's. We could go on and have this debate for hours, but I think that video games, as he just said, they're not going away anytime soon. And I know Chris said it, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it will be fascinating to see where it goes in the future.
E3 has got it down.
So here's, besides Aaron, because, Aaron doesn't play that many video games.
Yeah.
No, one question. Do you play games on your computer? Or do you...
Or, phone?
Well, I have the chess app. But that's
okay. See, but honestly, that's
Aaron,
a game.
have I mentioned I love you recently?
But it's still a game. Now, if you're not going to pay even $20 or $30 for that, but at the same time, it's still gaming.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it on your phone, whether you're doing it on a computer, whether you're doing it on a console,
I should
it's still gaming.
I would love to play that game.
Yeah.
Taught me so much.
So no, what I wanted to ask was, what are you most looking forward to at E3 this year?
Oh, I don't know. I think, like I said, for me, it's just sports games. I'm excited to see what really EA has to come out with because, Madden is one of their bigger titles, and I'll just see where EA goes. But I do like the story. We were talking about the story games earlier, like Last of Us and all these other ones. So that will be fascinating to see. As far as the game itself, I don't really have a game per se. What would be the game for you?
Actually, I'm going to go to Chris first.
You know what? I think I have to go Civ 6 because I've finally got a machine that really runs Civilization at a decent level.
Oh, by the way, Skylar, you were telling us off air, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Please tell us if we're going to end on this.
For anyone who doesn't
the funny
know,
thing about Civ.
So if anyone who's ever never played Civilization before, the original game had a setting where, basically there's world leaders, and Gandhi is one of the world leaders that you can negotiate with. And so Gandhi starts at an aggressive level of 1, which is the least aggressive you can actually be in the game. He's supposed to be the most peaceful person. The problem is that the coders didn't allow for the number to go lower, or to either stop it at 1 so it can never go lower, or let it go lower to negatives and stuff like that. So if you ever, for some reason, went nicer to him and were more diplomatic to him, instead of dropping down to a lower number, he would instead loop back to the highest number of aggressiveness and would start nuking you. He would start ramping.
Gandhi.
Gandhi just nuked me. What the hell?
And just as an homage to that, they have kept that in every Civ game, even the mobile Civ Revolution games.
Yeah.
Gandhi will nuke you if you let the game go on long enough. He gets access to nuclear weapons.
And by the way, the second it happens, he starts researching nuclear weapons. It's not even okay, we're going to start building other stuff. It's, no, Gandhi's building nukes. Run. It's fantastic. For me personally, I'm really looking forward. I want to see more stuff from Kingdom Hearts 3. I want to see Titanfall. Huh?
That's a joke.
Get out of my childhood. Honestly, I would say either Final Fantasy 15 or the new Zelda are the two things I'm looking forward to the most. And if we get it, because Bethesda has been very good at disguising things. Elder Scrolls 7.
Outstanding.
Elder Scrolls 6. Sorry, 6.
Wow.
Technically, it's the 7th one. They have an online one.
All right. So.
Anybody else have any?
No.
All right. Think so you heard it here first, guys. It looks like Half-Life 3 has been confirmed for E3. We're done here.
3 E's, 3 corners of the Illuminati pyramid. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
All right. On that note, we will we're out of time.
Yeah.
So, I'm David Caduto.
I'm Skylar Party.
I'm Aaron Lanuza.
And I'm Chris McCrory.
And you've been listening to CNA. 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 And you've been listening